The Rise and Fall of the African Gospel, Nongqawuse, is a play about two well-known distinguished spiritual and religious figures that existed in the late 1850s. The great young prophetess, Nongqawuse, who history points fingers at her to be the cause of the massive cattle killing that took place in 1856 and 1857 in the Xhosa landscape, and Tiyo Soga was the first black person to be ordained into the ministry of the Presbyterian Church in South Africa. The play was on at the Joburg Theatre, and joining us to share a bit more on it is playwright, producer, director and actor Mbongeni Moroke. Mbongeni, very good morning. Thanks for joining us. Welcome.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. Good to have you join us this morning. Let's talk about the story of Nongqawuse. I mean, what we know so far is that she was behind the massive killing of cattle back in the 1850s. So, according to the research that you carried out, what did you uncover?
Yeah, we uncovered that, there is a lot of misinformation, the myths around her even as a character, For us as a production, it was paramount for us, just to go back to the 1800s and see that this figure, why did history point her as a false prophetess at the age of 16? So when we go back to the 1850s and we look at the whole dynamics of the 1850s, it was, we saw, because we are a production, an indigenous production who conforms to African spirituality. So when we as a production now tackle these issues in terms of now checking the facts and checking the behaviors around the 1850s, which we check first the spiritual behavior in terms of the behavior in people concerning African spirituality, the behavior in people concerning traditions, concerning the cultures and the customs in the 1850s. So as a production, we saw that it was paramount for us to say, no, how could a person, a 16-year-old girl in the 1850s be given an ear? A 16-year-old. So surely there's a background story to that. So we unfold that background story, and when we came to our conclusion is that it is very difficult even for a commoner to lay eyes on kings. I'm not talking about just a king, I'm talking about ikumkani, because in Xhosa there's inkosi and then there's ikumkani, So in order for you to even go to that office, you have to go through many offices, to the many offices to go to that main office. Yeah. Surely Nongqawuse, if ever Nongqawuse was able to summon all the kings in the Xhosa land, not just one king, all the kings in the Xhosa land to go to Xhosa River. Surely there was a background story that...
But what's that background story? I mean, make me understand how the issue of massive cattle killing relates to African spirituality.
No, remember, where was Nongqawuse located? In the Xhosa region. Yeah. Nongqawuse was located in the Xhosa region under Inkosi uNtsabele, which we must remember that his father died in the 8th Frontier War alongside her mother. She's from the Amakela clan, Abotangani. So she was known before that she was a person that she spoke things to fruition. Yeah. So when her parents died, customs and traditions does not allow a woman or a woman who's or a girl to go back to her mother's home. Okay. She was supposed to go back to the Xhosa clan, but she was known. So under the of course the Xhosa kingdom, she was advised to go under uNtsabele, go back to his uncle, which is Umhlakaza. Umhlakaza was also a spiritualist, was also a person who understood Nongqawuse, because she came back to Umhlakaza at the age of 12 years. When her parents died. So Umhlakaza, being a spiritualist, he knew izinto zobugqirha, not izinto zomoya, because Nongqawuse was not a gqirha. Nongqawuse was a seer, was imboni. So when anything that happened to Nongqawuse, ikomkhulu, because no one in that era who possessed a gift, any kind of gift, was not known in the royal house. If there was Igqirha, the royal house would have known. If there was Mboni, a royal house should know. Hence the likes of Untsikana was known in the Xhosa landscape, and Nongqele, because everyone must come and be subjected to say, no, this house possesses such a gift. So when Amatonge Vuga, they would know, oh, this house Yamamfen. There's a person such as this. So when Nongqawuse made that profound prophecy, she made a prophecy kwindawo eyaziwayo, which is the Xhosa River.
And the story gets fascinating when two strangers appear to Nongqawuse and then give her the following pronouncement that, number one, the dead would rise. Number two, all living cattle would have to be slaughtered, having been reared by contaminated hands. So how does the story develop from there?
Okay. Number one, when we in the Xhosa land, we know there's a significant when it comes to the kettles, and when we talk about the river. Remember, Nongqawuse could not decree; she advised.
Oh, okay.
A decree is made by Ikumkani. A decree is not made by. But now, because of the false narration and the agenda at the time, was then to dissolve these two offices, which is the spiritual office and the traditional office. So she was a scapegoat in terms of that, because Ikumkani, the Ikumkani Khili, his great-grandfather Xaleka, was taken by the rivers. Oh, okay. The Xhosa River, okay. to be initiated not by physical hands, by spiritual hands, and went there underneath the waters. And how did he came out? He came because they went to Igqirha, and when the nation went to the Xhosa River, a certain cow went in the waters during the 1600s. During the time of the King Xaleka, and a certain cow, went to the river and then came out, King Xaleka, full in the Igqirha regalia. So the Xhosa River is known to be a sacred space. Not even children could not have played there. So these two people are not strangers. These two people are the water people. You know, these Tunas, these Dalwa Zasemanzini. So when Nongqawuse talks to the kings about the appearance of his Tuna, the royal house knows. And history does not point out that when all the royalties went to the river, the spiritual happenings happened in full view of all the kings. The big boulders going down, the kettles coming out of the waters and coming back and forth in the mist, or surrounded by the mist.
Okay. So, and we were also told another story of Tiyo Soga, a woman I mentioned in the intro as an element of this story. So how does Tiyo Soga come into the play?
No, Tiyo Soga comes in because during the time after the prophecy and during that confusion, because after that prophecy there was a war. You know, it caused Ingqayichibi, which means the battles of the kings, because now the kings were against Ukhili. You know, so during those wars, it was a perfect time for the missionaries to bring Tiyo Soga back to Scotland as a redeemer for the black people, especially the Xhosa people, because now they've said they've fallen spiritually in terms of their own African identity. So now Tiyo Soga was there and was used as a person to really steer the people into the new religion, which came with a black person now. And you know, now I talk your language, I talk in the sense of, you know, it becomes, no, you can do your thing, but there's a God. Yes. Which God? A new God. Because African people, we know Kamata, we know all, we know Usfubasbans, we know now they come a new God, which is God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. Now with this new religion that is coming with a black person. So Tiyo Soga is there to just to shed light that during that confusion, the Western religion came up, and then the fall of the African spirituality came down. Hence, it's called the rise and the fall of the African gospel, the death of African spirituality and the rise of Western religions.
This is quite an elaborate story. I mean, it's got so many layers, it's got so many facets and different interpretations. So how did you structure the play, and condensed it into a theatre play?
Yes, we take the key points. Key points, the backstory of Nongqawuse, also because it's a musical, the sounds, the harmony of the 1800s. We infuse it to that. We infuse poetry. We infuse contemporary African songs. You take that and you take all those elements. The arrest of the kings, because after that other kings were arrested. So you put it there, the war, you infuse it there, the backstory of Nongqawuse, and then I put in there how difficult was it for her to be followed, because there were two kinds of people, those who understood Nongqawuse and those who did not want to understand Nongqawuse, which is Amatamba and Amakokocha. So you infuse those people, which is the community, where she started telling people before she went to the royal house. So you infuse all those things, but 2 hours is not enough for the
not at all.
For the production.
And who's your source? Your source of information? Did you did you approach the libraries, the archives, or you certainly approached the historians? And how did you ensure that history does not get distorted? I mean, 1850 is a very, very long time, and sometimes it just fizzled out along the way.
Yes. This is a question I'm asked all over, because my stories also goes to Ireland. I was there in UK, in Northern Ireland. I was there in Belfast. I was there in Ireland itself. So we do field works. We do the field works. I do field works. I abroad. You understand the dynamics of traditions. The groundwork. You understand, and the museums, because when you go overseas, you find all of the artifacts that were taken during the course of the time, and you just see the misinformation even that side, So when we do our groundwork, we consult historians, we consult traditional people, spiritual people, and of course institutions that deal with African history, such as African Hidden Voices. So people who really institutions and people who really give their all time to demystify this false narrative of Western narratives, because we must understand why did history wanted to tarnish a 16-year-old. Right. So we must dissect why did history. It should have been Hlakaza, or it should have been any kind of leadership, who had influence. Yes. Who had influence. Why did they go to Nongqawuse? Why did the whites went to go to Nongqawuse? It means that they knew something that we should quickly tarnish a name, quickly tarnish these two offices, and write our own narrative. So that, because these narratives are institutionalized, they are put in schools, they are put in churches, so that when everyone comes and learn about our history, they won't find our African icons. I
mean, it's the basis of my question when you say, they had to write their own narrative. Like, whose narrative should we believe?
African, you see, that's why I said even those who say they write their concept in terms of African traditions. There's some conflict there, because you can't write an African story without African spirituality. So as a production, we conform to African spirituality. Okay. Some people who say they are black, but they still conform to Western ideologies and Western doctrines, such as religion. Religion can never tell an African story. And when you tap into African stories, you have to be spiritual, because you have to go to the depths of these things. Hence, we say even a young girl could not stand in front of kings, could not stand even in front of elders, because a young girl during that time could not have the powers to stand in front of men.
What a lecture! Great chatting to you, man.
Thank
you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Is it still on at the Joburg Theatre?
No, it was Friday, Saturday, sold out.
It was sold out, okay, all right.
Sold out, but it comes back to Joburg Theatre every January.
Okay. All the best, man. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Wow. Well, that was the rise and fall of the African gospel. Nongqawuse. I mean, the play is about the two well-known, distinguished spiritual and religious figures that existed in the late 1850s. That was director and playwright Mbongeni Moroke.